As the sun sets on the winter and rises on the spring, it takes time for the Green Mountain State to bloom green again. That's why for the past 4 decades, Vermonters have gone out every spring on Green Up Day to help make our state look clean and green. Green Up Day is May 6th. Can we count on you this year?
Thanks to all our sponsors for their support. And remember, Green Up Day is always the first Saturday in May. For more information, visit greenupvermont.org.
This is Dennis McMahon, and welcome to Positively Vermont. Today we're going to be talking about the Green Up Day Vermont, which is taking place statewide on May 6th. And my special guest is Melinda Vieux, the president of Green Up Vermont. Welcome, Melinda.
Thank you.
Now, this is going to be a major statewide event taking place in 251 towns.
That's correct.
On a single day, May 6th.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am from the Midwest. I grew up in Oklahoma, in the northeast corner of Oklahoma, in a town which we called Miami, but it's spelled the same as Miami. Mm-hmm. And my story is, and I also went back and forth to Kansas, where my grandparents lived, and I ended up going to the University of Kansas, and therefore I'm a big University of Kansas basketball Jayhawk fan. But my story is that when I was growing up, I just knew inside that I was going to grow up and move away. Didn't think any more about it. And so, having finished college, having gotten a master's degree, and met the person who I ended up marrying, he said, "Would you like to move to New England?" And I said, yes. Didn't know a thing about it, never been to New England. That was in the plan for me. And so we moved to Vermont in the winter of 70-71, which was one of the worst winters on record. I drove out here in a VW Bug with 2 cats. Oh my gosh, it was horrible.
It's like a movie script.
Yes. So that's how I got to Vermont. I missed the first Green Up Day, which was launched in 1970, but I was there for the second Green Up Day in 71, and I was so impressed. We were in Cadiz Falls, which is just south of Hyde Park, and I remember going out on Route 15, and there were just people all along the road, and there were these bags, and we were all picking up litter, and I just was so impressed. So that's how I got to Vermont, and then I spent numerous years doing different things. I'm a people person. I like to organize things and help people organize. So I spent some time working for nonprofits like the American Cancer Society, the March of Dimes, the Vermont Food Bank, and then I worked for state government. And then I decided, you know what, I am tired of working for the government. I'm going to do my own thing. So I took 3 months kind of meditating, and I created what was something which was I called porcelain and lace. And it was I had women in a cottage industry sewing, it was lingerie. It was the same year that Victoria's Secret launched. Well, I wasn't quite the successful business people that they were, and my stuff was not like theirs. It was Victorian in designs. And so I went down to New York City and sold these things and sold them all around the country for a few years. I did that, and then I said, you know what, I'm really not a businesswoman, so let's see what I can do other than this. And so then I ended up going to work for the Central Vermont Solid Waste District, which had gotten a federal grant to clean up illegal dump sites, of all things. Mm-hmm. And so I took that job. It was organizing in communities, and I did it for a couple of years, and I hated it. Well, the reason I hated it was because we started doing the cleanings in the fall, and we'd go out early in the morning. It would be foggy, it would be cold, and whereas I involved people from the community, I learned quickly that I needed somebody I could really depend on, so I involved the St. Johnsbury Correctional Crew. Well, they were not a very happy crew in their van with their leader. So that was what I did not like about it. And then I took some time off to work in my wonderful historic house in Plainfield. And then I said, well, you know what? It's time to go back to work. And so somebody saw the ad for the executive director of Green Up. And I knew that's what I wanted to do. And so 1996, I took the job for $5,000. They had $25,000 at the time, not because that was what was needed to run it. That's all they could scrape together. And we have since grown that we have a budget of just over $100,000 with 2 part-time people. And we purchase over 50,000 bags. So in a nutshell, that's how I got to Vermont and how I got to Green Up.
That's great. Well, what does Green Up Day do? I mean, tell us a little bit about the history. We'll get to Green Up Day this year, but tell us a little bit what's been going on over the past years.
Well, in 1970, it was the first year that it was launched. The idea actually came about in 1969, in March, when a reporter for the Burlington Free Press was driving from Stowe to Montpelier to work, was appalled by the amount of litter that he saw on the roadsides. And I'm told back in those times, the litter was horrendous. I mean, we have litter now, but back then it was really bad. And that was when people were taking an interest in the environment as well. And so he had the idea to marshal an army of thousands of volunteers to go out and clean up the litter. So he was able to go right to the governor, Governor Dean Davis, and Dean Davis loved the idea, so they started planning, and they had so much interest that Governor Davis said, I think we've got a bear by the tail. We're going to stop right now and plan this thing for a year, which they did. So therefore, in 1970, actually it was in April, 3 days before the first Earth Day, Green Up Day was launched in Vermont.
Vermont has it on Earth Day.
Oh, we do.
We had the first Earth Day.
Well, the first Earth Day in Vermont, which was called Green Up Day.
Right.
And I applaud Earth Day, but you know, it's kind of fun to have a little star on our forehead.
Absolutely. And so how did this group grow over the years?
Well, it has evolved. And as I said, they marshaled an army of thousands of volunteers. The draft was still in effect until 1973, and they definitely had a military approach to it. So Dean Davis actually said to all the schools, you're going to bus the kids out to the roadsides. And they did. And then there were other people as well who took part, but Davis and others who planned it, they wanted to make sure they had enough volunteers. It took time to learn that piece of information at the office, going over the archives. Everybody thinks that, oh, all of a sudden in Vermont, there were just thousands of people, just all of a sudden just came out and started cleaning up the roadsides. It was not quite like that. There's a wonderful photograph in an early newspaper of Dean Davis, and he's pointing to the public, and he says, we want you. And so it was like they really marshaled people. Therefore, there were over 60,000 people who came out, and they closed the interstate from 9 to noon and made a lot of people quite angry, as a matter of fact. But it was historic. It had national TV coverage. They came up to Vermont to cover it. And so in the next few years, it was still run by the state government, but you didn't hear much about it. You heard a bit about it, but then it began to be quiet. And it kept being more and more quiet in those early years in 1970. And then in 1979, Governor Snelling, he declared it was so successful, it should go out on its own. So interested individuals formed a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And so now Green Up Vermont, the nonprofit organization, proudly carries on that tradition.
That's great. Well, tell us what's going to happen on May 6th.
Thousands of people are going to go out in communities all around the state. We try to track the numbers. It's not easy because we have a town coordinator in every town. We ask them to give us some information, but even those coordinators don't know all the numbers of people that go out. So the numbers that we can track last year added up to 22,000 people.
22,000 people?
That's correct. It is the largest single-day all-volunteer effort in Vermont.
Amazing. Now, how are they organizing this now? Today, it's a few weeks away. What is going on right now in the 251 communities throughout the state?
They're all doing their thing. We at Green Up Vermont, there are 2 of us part-time. We don't tell them how to do, or you must do this, or you must do that. So we ask that that they have a town coordinator who makes it known in their town where people can get the Green Up bags, which are now our signature Green Up bag, those yummy lime green, green up bags. And so the coordinator needs to inform people in the town where they can get the bags, where they can bring the bags when they're filled, when they're completed. And then in many towns they have refreshments. Some have barbecues for lunch, and there are a few that even come back in the evening because of the amount of community spirit raised that they want to get together. And I do want to share something with you about the spirit of Green Up Day, and I'm going to read part of it. This is from a fellow who was at the first Green Up Day. He was a kid, and he's since moved to Virginia. But this year, he noticed in the newspaper, the Addison Independent, about our notice for a poster and writing contest. And he has thought about Vermont ever since he's left, and so he wanted to call us up and tell us how much it impacted his life. And then he sent me an email, and I'm just going to read you a bit from his email. He said, I wanted to call and tell you what an impact that experience had on me. Two things. First, the power and fun of community working together. Anything can be accomplished. Second, the very important civic responsibility of volunteering for efforts that benefit the common good and are bigger than yourself. Those things have stuck with me and influenced my life all these years. It amazes me that as an 11-year-old punk, I was able to figure out the point is Green Up Day is way more than just picking up trash and keeping Vermont the beautiful place it is. It impacts lives.
That's wonderful.
I really think that's very special. And there are lots of people that feel that way about Green Up Day.
Now, the cleanup process itself, I know it's being done in 251 locations, but is there any focus on highways or parks? How is there going to be a coordinated effort to make sure we get this area or that area, or is it totally dependent on the locality?
Well, it's both. It's dependent on the locality. However, the Agency of Transportation cleans up all the state highways, the roadsides of state highways and the interstate. It's a policy in Vermont that volunteers cannot go on the interstate, and not surprisingly, and even along the state highways. So there are 2,700 miles of state highways that the Agency of Transportation takes care of. That leaves 13,000 town roads that are the focus of Green Up Day. So if we didn't have Green Up Day, either the litter would stay on the roadsides in the towns all over the state, or they'd have to pay their local road crews to go out and pick it up. So it's both community spirit coming together and making a very tangible difference in all these town roads.
Amazing. Now, you have a very lovely website, which we're going to refer down there, and does that enable people to look and see what's going on in their area and how they can volunteer?
It does, absolutely. So if people are interested and want to take part, all you have to do is go to the greenupvermont.org website, and there's a How to Participate page. And on that How to Participate page, every town by county is listed. And that there's a town coordinator, how to contact that person, and there's a bit of information about where to get bags and where to bring bags and what kinds of activities are going on in every town.
You must have a lot of support from the business community and from the other cultural organizations. Tell us how that works.
We do, and in fact, on the poster for Green Up Day, which, by the way, this year is wonderful, it's very artful, and I encourage people to go to the Green Up Vermont website and look for the video based on the artwork, which was done by a freshman from Montpelier High School, and it's just a 60-second ad, but the water ripples in that 60-second ad. And what I want to point out in terms of Green Up Day does not happen for free. As I mentioned, we have a budget now of over $100,000, and so corporate support helps us make sure that Green Up Day does not go away. And so we have almost 2 dozen corporate supporters in various levels of support. At the very top, our supporters are Casella Waste Management and Subaru New England, and then National Life and Cooperative Insurance Companies, WCAX 802 Creative, and then we have another tier of folks, People's United Bank, VAST, the Snowmobile Association, Cabot Creamery, Janitex, Velco, the UVM Health Network, let's see, oh yes, American Plastics Council out of Washington, but they support things throughout the country, the Beverage Association of Vermont. So it's important, and if people watching the show think that perhaps the company where they work might be interested in offering some corporate support, we welcome inquiries about corporate support.
That's great. Approximately how many people do you estimate will be out there on May 6th?
Well, over 22,000 people. Yeah, and we kind of feel comfortable enough to say that for every one person that we have got counted, there's at least one more out there. That's just the way it is. And we long to know all of those people. We even on our website have a place where it says be counted. And so people can sign on there and let us know that they went out to take part.
Tell us a little bit about how this involves young people and school children.
It involves them all over the state. There are lots of schools who go out during the week before Green Up Day. Oftentimes it'll be on the Friday before Green Up Day. And I know that in Burlington, there's an elementary school called Edmonds School, and they have been going out, but this year they have decided the entire school is definitely gonna go out. Every teacher in their class is taking the classroom out and talking about Green Up Day ahead of time, and their emphasis in doing that is to encourage the kids then to come out with their families on Saturday. So it varies around the state. There are the kids that go out the day before Green Up Day, and then there are kids like in Williamstown, their school does not go out before Green Up Day. They encourage their kids to go out on Saturday in their towns. And so anybody watching that wonders if the school in their community takes part, check it out. Just check with your school to see if they do take part.
What kind of materials do you provide to assist in this?
We provide the bright green Green Up Day trash bags. And on those trash bags, it includes the logos of the corporate people who are supporting us. And so that's a large thing that we provide. When I first came to Green Up, we were providing about 25,000 bags. And this year, we're providing 52,000 bags. And yeah, and it costs us several thousand, it costs $12,000 for those bags. There are companies out there, they don't just donate all those kinds of things.
Let me ask you this, I mean, is there a particular kickoff time of the day statewide, or is it going to depend on the area?
It depends on the area. It's usually 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. And there are some towns such as Jericho, Stowe, some others who they offer some breakfast. In Jericho, they really do it up. There's a volunteer there who they have green tablecloths and flowers on all the tables, and it's a breakfast buffet. And this year, Subaru New England, they have a national theme called the Promise, I think. And it's about giving back to the community and about love. And one of their categories is environment. So there are 15 people coming up from Massachusetts, from Subaru, to help clean up in Vermont, and they're going to go to the breakfast in Jericho, and then they're going to go over to Burlington at Salmon Hole and start helping to clean up clean up that area all the way down to the Intervale.
That's great. I know, again, it's depending on the area, but how is all this material going to be disposed of, all these bags?
Each town takes care of that. And in some cases, you can leave the bags along the roadside. In other cases, you need to take them to the town garage or whatever site is designated. My wish is that they would all leave them on the roadsides, because it's such a signal and such a message to everybody in Vermont that this is going on. And it just works. It really works.
It's great to see all the people out there working at it. It's absolutely amazing. There's a tremendous spirit to this.
Oh, it is. And you won't see all of them out there, because even though a number of towns have 200 to 400 volunteers, they're kind of never all in the same spot at the same time. They get their bags and they go out all throughout the towns and in back roads, so they're not all visible. But you can know, I used to definitely encourage people to go out on Saturday, the first Saturday in May, and just go out, even if you're not going to go take part in your town. And I oftentimes get chills because I just know that there are thousands of Vermonters out there taking care of Vermont. I say that it's people in their communities taking care of the community of Vermont.
That's wonderful. Now, what about follow-up to this? You're going to have it on May 6th. It's always the first Saturday in May.
It is.
And this year is May 6th.
Yes.
And what happens afterwards?
Well, we all enjoy the beauty of our state for several days. and then we, a year later, we come out and do it again in the spring. However, I will share that there are some towns in the state who form, in Wethersfield, they have a Green Up association, and they go out every month, different volunteers throughout the year. So there are other places as well who go out throughout the year. And as an individual, you can just, it's not much fun, but if you walk or jog, it's kind of hard when you're jogging, but pick up litter when you see it.
And is there going to be like an assessment of how successful it was?
We take a look at that every year, right? And we have the information that does come back to us from the town coordinator. So we try to see what's going on, what works and what doesn't work. But for the most part, it works. And there's something else I want to share with people in terms of the funding support. We are now very fortunate to be only the 4th option on the Vermont state income tax return for charitable giving since 1986. In '86, non-game wildlife was legislated to be on there. Then it was the Children's Trust Fund in '96. Then the Veterans Fund in 2010, around that time. And 2 years ago, the legislature legislated that Green Up Vermont for Green Up Day is now on that income tax return. So it's an easy opportunity for individuals to choose to support Green Up Day. You can give $1 or more. Our average donation, we're told by the tax department, is about $13. So it eases our dependency on corporations, and it shows that people as individuals do care. You know how there are pie charts that organizations have for their income? Well, our pie chart for income for individuals used to be 1%, fewer than 50 people. With a staff of 2 part-time people to run a statewide event, we didn't have the energy or the time or the money to do what large organizations do, build a donor base of individuals. So now our individual pie chart is up to 27%.
Wow.
It is a wow.
Just from individuals and
That's right.
not necessarily businesses or government?
Right. It's individuals and businesses, but only if they're part of their business, really. Yeah.
And what kind of, I know you mentioned it, and I'm sure it's on the site, what kind of outside activities are going on outside during this day, May 6th?
Well, it's all focused on Green Up Day, on picking up litter.
And is there any like picnics or things?
Yes, there are. Lots of towns have barbecue lunches and picnics, yes, and all kinds of refreshments. And in reading the information, I noticed that a lot of the towns, they offer home-baked goods. So that's a way also for people to take part who aren't going out to pick up litter.
Now, I noticed the poster was done by a student.
Yes.
Is there any way you're going to coordinate photographs or other types of recording of the activities during that day?
Well, I tell you what, and you'll be able to show on your screen on the website, I have this. This year we are introducing a video contest for kids. Anyone 18 and under can enter to do a video about Green Up Day. And so it's about Green Up Day. There are 2 weeks before the entry is due on the Facebook of Green Up Vermont, and the winner will be determined by the number of likes
Really?
on Facebook. And the prize, if there's a single individual who wins the prize, their entire school will be treated to a crepe party by Skinny Pancake.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is really something.
I know, and so people should definitely follow our website to see what kids come up with.
And it's going to be broadcast on Facebook or on the website?
It is, on Facebook.
So all these videos are going to be on Facebook.
Right. Well, actually they are.
Yeah. And someone likes it, and you're going to compile that, and
Right.
that's going to be the school that's going to be the winner.
That's right.
That's amazing, absolutely amazing. This takes a lot of coordination.
Well, it does. It does. It's frustrating when people will say to me, well, Green Up Day is one day. What do you do the rest of the year? Well, we do a lot the rest of the year. We try to pretty much take the summer off. I mean, there are things, basic things we need to be doing, but then we kick back into gear in the fall, and we have to be in touch with every town, all 251 towns, to make sure they have a coordinator, and we have to make sure we've raised the money to cover all the costs, and we have to work out the promotion, the advertising. When I first came to Green Up in 1996, there were two remarks that were prevalent. One was, geez, you know, you don't hear much about Green Up Day anymore. And the other was from the town coordinators that they did have. They did not have one in every town. Those coordinators indicated to me that they would like to feel part of a greater whole. Well, both of those things have now been addressed. In recent years, people have said, you know, Green Up Day is a Vermont icon. And that's wonderful to hear. It seems like everybody knows about it. And so people care about Vermont. And I want to also encourage people to go to the website and observe the advertisement. Oh, because in terms of people not knowing about it, the other thing that town coordinators let me know early on was the importance of publicizing Green Up Day, because, and we started out by using what they call public service announcements, but that just wasn't enough. People weren't hearing about it enough, and town coordinators were struggling to get volunteers. So again, in terms of a cost for running the program, we do paid advertising now, and it makes a difference. Someone said to me, you'd have to live in a cave not to know that Green Up Day is coming.
That's great. Now, what do you need for this year's Green Up Day?
We need for people to take part. Just, you know, come out and help out. And to take part helping to pick up, to find out in their town, from their town coordinator, if there's something they could do, like provide some refreshments. Lots of businesses donate refreshments. And they also will donate prizes and donate gloves. Gloves are needed. Safety vests could be donated, all those kinds of things. And then people can donate any time of the year safely online on the Green Up Vermont website.
That's amazing. And 47 years this has been going.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Well, this has been very interesting having you here on Positively Vermont.
Thank you.
And we want to commend you and your volunteers for this effort, and let our viewers know that the website's available and all kinds of other information. Please take advantage of it. And Melinda, I'd like to give you an opportunity to address the people of Vermont as we conclude today.
Thank you. I would just like to say to everybody, come out and stand up for Green Up and help out. And it's easy. If you've never participated, just look for the Green Up posters, which tells you how to find out how to participate, or go to the Green Up Vermont website, the How to Participate page, or you can go to a local Subaru dealer to get a Green Up bag, and then just go out and hit the road. So, see you on Green Up Day.
That's great. Thank you very much, Melinda. This is Dennis McMahon for Positively Vermont.